I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. I know the problem, you've got just one policy. You do the opposite of what the Donald does. Don't know what you believe just because you got that TDS. You've tested positive. There's nothing I can do for chronic low IQ. It's TDS. Open the borders, let Mamdani pick your pocket. Let the boys beat the girls, they got that extra rocket. A theology degree from Starbucks. You declare that America sucks. You got that TDS. You've tested positive. There's nothing I can do for chronic low IQ. It's TDS. If you're red, alright, let's get this party started. If you're left, you're blue and probably retarded. Like Rosie, De Niro, Jimmy Kimmel, Kathy Griffin. No kings, no kidding, we don't live in Great Britain. If J6 was the worst thing you've ever seen, Soros, burning Sadie's a mostly peaceful thing. Bring back the cartels, commute their crimes, sack the fact checkers like the New York Times. He's a Nazi, a fascist, a racist dictator who lets you say what you want to say.
Luke, I am your daddy.
You got that TDS. You tested positive. There's nothing I can do for chronic low IQ. It's TDS. No matter what he says, you must be really dumb, 'cause you keep blaming Trump for your problems.
Side effects of Trump derangement syndrome may include violent behavior, delusions, nightmares, insomnia, irrational hatred, hopelessness, anxiety, depression, blue hair, tantrums, inability to form coherent speech, difficulty maintaining gainful employment, and verbal diarrhea.
There's no cure in sight.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. Please give me the finger. Would you please raise a finger, rumble this, share it, like it, follow, subscribe? Because my job is to make you the smartest patriot in the room. And that's what I'm going to try to do today. It's going to be a little bit of an education, a little bit of a tech or finance or stock education. You got to be financially savvy. I'm going to show you how Congress, in a way, I guess you could call it financially savvy. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Here's what I'm asking you to do. It's pretty easy. I just want you to go to jovanlovesgold.com. I want you to request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. Please do. At least understand how to feed your brain. They're going to switch us over to a digital system. It's just the way it's going to happen, to monitor and control us, not to monitor and control them. This is why I partner with the fine folks at Goldco. Please head over to jovanlovesgold.com. Fill out the request form and get it. And by the way, please, I beg you, give me the finger. Today is going to be a financial lesson. It's going to be worth your time because it's something that we have to look at. We're going to talk about something that's a prison sentence for every one of us, but it's a payday for lawmakers. Hang tight, Share this. We'll get started right after this.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother. Wow, she tried to hit an agent with her car. Oh no, pop motherfucker, now she's gone. Yeah. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. You fuck around and find out it's what it is. Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a chomo. He was getting nicked when he pulled a gun. Bam, motherfucker, now you're gone. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with a septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. Fuck around and find out what that is.
Before signing up, you boys ought to try a little taste of Dr. Ism's formula to see what you'd get in exchange for your freedom. Go ahead, try it.
You can't do this to me! I'll strike!
The state forbids strikes.
Wait till the union hears about this!
Ah, yes, the Union. Welcome to our ranks, number 1313.
I'll take this case to the Supreme Court.
The state is the Supreme Court. Our decision is as follows. No more private property. No more you.
The farm folk will put a stop to this.
Farmers don't vote anymore.
What'll they do for seed next year?
You won't have to worry about next year. The state will do your planning from now on.
We must fight to regain our freedom, or everything is lost. Everything!
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
When anybody preaches disunity, tries to pit one of us against the other through class warfare, race hatred, or religious intolerance, you know that person seeks to rob us of our freedom and destroy our very lives. And we know what to do about it.
Now, gentlemen, no violence, please. Don't throw those bottles. Don't throw those bottles. No! Oh, no!
The upcoming 2026 midterms could be a bloodbath for Republicans? How? Consider this. On Election Day 2008, Barack Obama received 69 million votes. In his second term, he racked up 65 million votes, and he was considered the Democrat rock star president. Then Hillary ran against Donald Trump. She received the same 65 million votes. But come 2020, Joe Biden supposedly received 81 million votes. Was he really more popular than Obama or Hillary? Of course not. But that is not the half of it. In the 2024 election, Kamala Harris received 68 million votes. But did you know that now it's almost 2 years after that election, and somehow Kamala Harris has been elevated to over 75 million votes? How does a candidate get 8 million more votes after the election? Is this an attempt to validate the fraudulent 81 million vote fantasy from 2020? You bet. One thing stands between chaos and correcting history, and that is the historic 2020 full forensic archive of Maricopa County, Arizona.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, guys, here we go. We're going to talk about something that if you and I did it, we'd go to prison. But it's a big payday for lawmakers. For the life of me, I have no idea logically how a lawmaker can make $175,000 a year, be a bartender like AOC before they went in making $21,000 a year. And then a handful of years later, they're worth $20, $30, $40 million. It doesn't make any logical sense at all. However, for the rules for the not for me crowd, one of the things that goes on is something that technically is illegal. We're going to talk about it. But of course, there's no prosecution on it because everybody in the lawmaking halls are in on it. I kind of think it's the way they, well, you walked away from your career and you're doing good for the country. So we'll just kind of turn the other cheek. It's something that you may have heard the term before, but most people don't understand. It might have come on your radar back in 2004 with Martha Stewart. I dig Martha Stewart. Haven't met her. Would love to. Right? I think she's the bomb. She's the greatest. We could talk about gardening, all kinds of wonderful stuff. But back in 2004, Martha Stewart was sent to prison. It was a high-profile case regarding insider trading where they said you used information you shouldn't have had to get rid of 3,928 shares of a company called Inclone, I-M-C-L-O-N, C-L-O-N-E, Inclone Systems. They were about to get a cancer drug approved, but somehow she got tipped off it wasn't going to get approved, right? So this is stock she sold back in 2001. They were valued about $230,000 at the time. Evidently, her broker told her about it. She sold them. Somebody says, "Oh, hey, you didn't lose your money like the rest of us," and she went to prison. Now, what's ironic is, hell, not even 3 years later, right. In fact, right after she got sentenced to prison, the drug eventually did get approved, but she still went to prison. Now, I am told that this happened specifically because she pissed off Hillary Clinton. Don't know if it's true. Don't know. But they sent Martha to prison. And she came out with a new fancy for women, if you know what I mean. So it's not like it was a Bad time for Martha. She's still doing well, has a wonderful estate. Here is what insider trading is defined as, which I want to kind of help you understand. It's basically when you buy or sell a publicly traded company's securities, stock, right? And you've done it because you have non-public information about the company. It means you through some way you have access to information that the general public is not afforded. And you use that information as an insider and you begin to trade on it. Real simple. These laws are pretty tight. I can remember I knew in advance Yahoo was going to be acquired, or excuse me, Yahoo was going to acquire AudioNet, which became broadcast.com. You dare don't muck with it. The stock went up to several $100s. I completely stayed away from it because I had inside information, and frankly would have ended up in a prison term. The money that you may make, it's not worth it, especially when you're high profile in an industry. You just shouldn't do it. That's the definition of insider trading. For you and I, if we were to take that information, we'd be sent to prison. You're going to spend millions of dollars in legal fees. Well, let's say you make a few $1 million. You're going to spend millions of dollars in legal fees trying to stay out of jail with the SEC. It's going to ruin your business career and your business life. You're going to pay millions and millions of fines. So it's not like if you get caught, you're ever going to make any money at it. The chances of getting caught are not that, or have too big of a risk in doing it. I want to tell you about something that is called gov greed. Now, you always ask, is artificial intelligence dangerous? How can it benefit all of us for the future, etc.? Well, a group of programmers used artificial intelligence, and they wrote a program that literally tracks 540 sitting members of Congress. It tracks them all. And this thing's been unleashed because, as we've talked many times about massive computing, it can search the information, find the information, correlate the information, etc. This site, GovGreed, basically exposes the racket that Congress trades on insider knowledge, and it actually posts the receipts. Shocking, you will find out that 56% of every stock purchase made by Congress in the last 16 months was on a stock affected by a bill that Congress member voted on. It's technically supposed to be against the law. It's supposed to be enforced. It is not enforced. So what this thing does, this artificial intelligence, it works off what's called the Stock Act Disclosure Act. It's by the SEC and the filings. And it looks across, Congress.gov and bills and committees and all this other stuff. It looks across the FEC for campaign donations. It looks at data announcements out there, and it actually gives a score. And they basically tracked 100, this is only in the last 16 months, 190,000 individual trades of the stocks held by a little over 540 members of Congress, the House and the Senate. Now, what this AI does is, because all this information is public and you can see it, they've used AI to monitor it, and then they use AI to now also compare it to bills, etc. And so it identifies patterns of personal conflicts or potential conflicts with politicians. Now, this thing is taken off because it's dead on, it's right. And so what they're doing is they're using public trackers, think ticker tape, think trackers and stocks and everything else. And all of a sudden, what everybody knew, but now in your hands. See, there's been people online that have done very well on this, and it's actually an interesting loophole. See, Congress is trading on inside information because they know a drug's going to be approved, or some big building or commerce deal is going to be approved, and this company is going to directly benefit from it. So they're lining their pockets doing that information that, like I said, that you and I would go to prison for. Now, some smart people online have built tickers following people like Nancy Pelosi's trades, because what they're doing is only mimicking what like Nancy Pelosi and her family trades, and those people are making a killing. Well, that's not insider information because they're only looking at an individual in trade, have no information. Now, these guys are making a killing, and they proved that these Congress people are just raking in the dough to the tune that over half of them have done it. Basically, they were able to identify that out of 11,016 trades, that 6,170 of them had to do logically, when you disconnect the data, that it actually has to do with the lawmaker has inside information. They know something's coming down. And so they look at these volumes and they look at this overlap to see, okay, are these lawmakers, are they exerting influence? Are they doing something on the books that is a crime? A prosecuted crime, long history of doing this. It just avoids lawmakers. See, you have to understand, lawmakers know about various bills or know about right-of-ways that are going to be done or something in eminent domain, and a company is going to come in and take over. We're talking tens of thousands just over the last few years of conflicted trades. That would put tens of thousands of people who did it, if it was just mere mortals like us, we'd go to prison. We would literally go to prison. So the question I have is, how is this okay? It's interesting. Government Greed, this site, is GOVGREED. They have a thing called triple signaling as well. Triple signaling is where not only is this a sitting member of Congress, but this sitting member of Congress literally sits on a relevant committee, not just voting on the bill, sits on the very committees that approve these things. And what you're finding is when a Congress member is involved in that when the bills pass, what happens to the stock is almost a multiple of 5.4 times. It's kind of like printing money. They just kind of gonna know it happens. This is rampant. Now, if you had to guess, put it in chat. Who do they suggest is the number one offender in these trades? Who do you think it is? Put it in chat. Who do you think is the number one offender that uses and has used? We know it's Congress. I'm looking for an individual name, not implying guilt or anything, right? Who do you think is the number one person that does this? It's interesting. I got a Trump, I got a Trump, I got a Trump, I got a Trump. The answer is Pelosi. In fact, Trump doesn't appear on it. I think that's interesting. Pelosi's near the top when it comes to the leaderboards. They kind of track it like a ticker. You can go see it yourself at any time you want. Pelosi is almost always at the top or the near top in their portfolio. And it goes back and forth in value and increases and stuff. She may have benefited, by their estimates, $650 million. $650 million. A lot of them with NVIDIA, Amazon, Google, etc. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of change. The second one in line, of course, that's a Democrat, California. Ironically, the second one in line is Ro Khanna, another Democrat in California. They say what they report is Ro Khanna is evidently, and that's R-O and then Khanna. I hope I'm saying that right. Has tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of trades. It's one of the oldest data sets they were able to track. 13,231 in one data set across 800 individual ticker items. Big pieces selling, like 38,000 shares of something at a time. Again, hundreds of millions of dollars. They seem to be doing it through their family or management companies, but he benefits from it. Now, what's ironic here is he says he supports bans on congressional trading. Does it? Family makes what looks like a killing off of it, but in the public eye says that this should be banned. Another one is a fellow by the name of Michael McCall, Republican out of Texas. Another one that shows up on this list. Now, this is not suggesting any crimes, but most people know that if you did it or I did it, we're going to jail. So where is it? This Michael McCall in Texas, again, hundreds of thousands of shares, one of the highest volumes in 2025. He sits on the House Committee of Foreign Affairs. He's the chair of the Committee of Foreign Affairs. Thomas Suozzi, am I saying that right? Suozzi or Suozzi, Suozzi, Democrat out of New York. A high ratings, 100%. He comes in at about 86%. They flag him as this is probably an issue. We got Elisa McClain, Republican out of Michigan. Same thing, 1,443 trades. Done through husbands and wives or whatever the case may else be done. One of the ones that she just did was converted. And it's interesting. I got to try to figure this out. I do not understand it, but she actually had, for whatever reason, I do not know, but she had equity in SpaceX. Many times you can, as a business person, you can, in fact, get lawmakers, etc., to sit on your board or to be influence peddlers for you. And it's okay to give them equity. Well, she had equity in SpaceX. Not that that's any big deal. It's regularly done. But I wonder how many of our lawmakers in a lot of these big IPOs end up having equity. Now, I wouldn't be aggrieved about that at all. If I was doing something and I wanted to find somebody to to help make it work easier, not do anything illegal. Yeah, as a businessman, you might give them a little spiff of equity. Help me out. I need to meet this person, or I need to do this. That's just the way it's done. But the question is, do you think it should be disclosed? That's my question for you. Should it be disclosed? Should it be disclosed if somebody is politicking? And I'll give you an example. We've talked about this before. You saw in Arizona, you know that when it comes to election integrity, right? That, and as you're seeing in California now, it is the mail-in ballots. It is people, paper, and programs. It has always been. But they wanted you to look over on the machines where it's invisible because there's no enforcement. That was the con. You now know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I was telling you the truth, it's the paper and it always will be. One of the interesting things I observed doing my work for the full forensic audit in Arizona is I thought it was interesting that one of the lawmakers there, Mark Fincham, others have been named, Sonny Borrelli or whatever, I have no firsthand information, but they pushed this ballot paper that they called currency grade ballot paper, right? And he went on a road show, could have been paid by the company, who knows, went on a road show to all the states when everybody's worrying about election integrity, saying it can stop it with this paper. Well, it can't stop it with the paper. Let me tell you why it can't stop it with the paper. The machines don't look to see if the markers are there. The machines don't know if a watermark is there. And when it comes to a full forensic audit, I can tell you firsthand, we got mere seconds per ballot to actually look at the ballot physically. You're not going to be able to confirm it's the real watermark. So even if it had some sort of goofy bloom in it where it just shined under a black light, you would think it was there and you'd pass it on. It's all a racket, false sense of security. But those lawmakers have a financial interest in that ballot paper. So why are they doing it? They're selling us a false sense of security. I think Georgia adopted it. I think it maybe Arizona is going to adopt. It's not going to matter. You don't get to see the paper. You don't get to verify the mark. So what does it really do? Well, what it does for those lawmakers is they make money. If somebody was making a quarter, 25 cents a ballot, and you got a county that does 2 million ballots, they're going to make $500,000 because they got out there and they hawked it. My question is, do you think that's okay? Put it in chat. Do you think that's okay? It looks like we, the public, is being protected, or citizens in Arizona are being protected. And they're going around talking about, we got to have secure elections. We've got to do this. We've got to protect it. We've got to protect the vote. I'm a champion. Look at me. Look how great I am. I work in election integrity. When you find out they're hawking a piece of paper, they get a commission, or they get stock, or they get equity, or they get options on. I don't think that's okay. I have no problem if a lawmaker came forward and here is something that I think would help the matter, a more secure paper. And for full disclosure, I'm so confident in this piece of paper, I even have stock in the company. I think it's that important. We've got to support something like this. I have no problem with the proper disclosure. But the question is, are they really working on your interest? And a good example in this, and it's kind of like stock, that company's a publicly traded company, but they're forcing the vendors. That's a little bit different than influencing a stock. When you actually get a state to write a law, as a lawmaker, when you get a state to write a law, and multiple states do it, and let's say you're going to print 100 million ballots, are you being authentic? Are you being transparent? The very thing that you're suggesting you're doing with having this right type of paper. This is where the conflict comes in this greed conflict, because for us, we'd go to jail For them, they're not. The Stock Act, which was done in 2012, it requires any trades right at about $1,000. They must be reported within 45 days of the transaction, or they get a $200 late filing fee. It is aimed at supposedly curbing insider trading. The Stock Act, we're going to stop insider trading. There's late filings all over the place, but there's no enforcement. Nobody has faced meaningful criminal penalties trading on public info. This is kind of, and this is a prime example, as that paper with the watermark in it for ballots is not going to stop anything with fraud. You might tell you why. Let's say Arizona, Georgia, whatever the case may be, approves this paper. And it's got to be used by the ballot company. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to print, in Arizona, 80+% mail-in ballots. They're going to print a mail-in ballot for the voter who shouldn't be on the voter rolls, the voter who is illegal, the voter who is dead, is going to get that piece of paper in their ballot packet. Those ballot packets are going to be collected, even though the person's not real. They're going to be cracked open. They're going to be filled out. They're going to be put in the secure envelope, a signature scribbled on it, which they're not going to check. And then ballot mules are going to drop it in the drop boxes. Did that piece of paper stop any of that voter fraud or election fraud? No, it didn't stop a thing. It was just a legal ballot voted illegally. That's why these things can't fix a thing until all the machines can read them, verify them, confirm them, and they're all dynamic where the codes change by county, etc., and it's all secret. Nobody has the key, which, by the way, I invented that voting system, but nobody wants to talk about it. The machines can recognize it. And in fact, all the 25 things that we did to audit the Arizona election, we can build right into the machines, and it audits itself as it's doing it. But that's not what the system wants. And that's why this government greed site is up. What's going on is right now there's reform efforts trying to ban congressional stock trading. And they're trying to get all of this banned, but nobody's voting in it. The public has an 80% favor in this. Obviously, we'd go to jail, they wouldn't. 80% of the public supports this. But every time it comes up for vote, it gets stalled or set aside. Why is that? Because so many people are doing it, they're not going to vote against their paycheck. Don't you understand that's the same rig as welfare? Don't you understand that's the same rig as unions or as illegals? If you get a check from the government, you can be as red, white, and blue as it is, but you get that check from the government. I read about a lady the other day gets $4,500 a month from the government, right, for welfare benefits. The government wants to say that she's got to do at least, I think it's 13 hours a week of public service work in some form or fashion. Get this. So in order to get a month, I guess it's a month, they want people that are getting these benefits to do 13 hours or 15 hours of public service work for the community in order to qualify for their benefits. We'll just, for shits and giggles, let's just call it 10 hours. She's getting $4,500 a month. And she's saying, I'm not going to work 10 hours. They're not paying me anything for it. Well, if she did the math, it's $450 an hour she's getting. But this is the thing. This is where that money hook hurts all of us. Because if they can get you on the financial tit, if they can get you dealing with, you're not going to vote against your interest. That's the whole thing with unions voting primarily liberal. You can have all these conservatives in union. They're not going to vote against their interest to make their hourly wage go down. It's just not going to happen. That's the financial control that this has. And this is why this is a problem. Now, what this falls under, this is called, and what we're talking about, folks, we're talking about a new site. You can go look for yourself. It's called GovGreed, GovGreed. You can go look it up. 56% of our sitting Congress has participated in this. Officials argue in law context that this is illegal under the Security Acts. It's called the misappropriation theory, because they're into a position or they get a position, they're buying and selling in trade because they have this information in their hand. But they're saying it's a legal gray area. Whereas if you just took sitting Congress members, so let's say you have a broker, let's say you have a financial advisor, and you're hoping to see your wealth grow 10%, which would be a good return, 10% in any annum. If you just look at Congress, they grow 5, 6, 7, 8 times over that. And the only difference is they're Congress members. It's not really that their brokers any better. Most of them don't even use brokers. They have their family members do it. But it outperforms anything there is in the banking and investment world, period. To me, it seems the only way that could really be done is to have that inside information. I find this very suspicious. I don't think it's skill. There's some people that have skill at stock tradings, right? The problem is there's data disclosures. It should be about $1,000. They want to move it up to the $50,000 range. But and I know, moving $49,000 at a time, and they do that 10 times in 1 month, $500,000, almost $490,000, it still stays under the radar. Now, again, we'll go back to Arizona. I think one of the things we found in Arizona is this unique coincidence that the lawmakers in Arizona, that somehow their mortgages kept getting paid off. Now, I'm going to play this out for you real quick. You run the numbers. I'm going to use an easily round number, right? Let's say a lawmaker gets a loan for a $500,000 house. So $500,000. They get a nice big house. An interesting thing regarding the lawmakers is within a very short period of time, some of them within the same year, that $500,000 house gets paid off. So what do you have? A lawmaker didn't spend the money. They just got a mortgage for the money. That's $500,000. Then that mortgage is paid off. The who, what, when, and where paid it off is not tracked. So now technically the lawmaker who really didn't pay for the house, just used their credit to get it, now they really have a $500,000 value, right? That lawmaker then goes in and gets a loan, a refinance of that house. So they get a $500,000 house. Let's say they get it refinanced for $400,000. Now they've pulled out, they got a house they own, they pulled out $400,000. Somehow that loan gets paid off. So now they have a $500,000 house, an extra $400,000 in cash. What do they do a few months later? They refinance it again. It gets paid. They refinance it again. it gets paid. Basically, you end up, if you did some of these numbers, and I looked at some of them, your house got paid off, and somehow you did $3 million worth of refinances, and those got paid off too. So I do think this is one of the ways that lawmakers and stuff are laundering money under the radar. But here's what I find very curious. Even with every single category of the paper failing in Arizona, and Arizona not do anything about the elections, just like we're talking about this act right now of stock trading and this site GovGreed. What did Arizona lawmakers do? Within 2 weeks, what does the government move on in 2 weeks? They had a new law on the books, approved, sailed right through, that it was illegal to give up lawmakers' mortgage information and it had to be protected. And they moved to do a law within 2 weeks and got it pushed right through. Unanimously. I want you to think about it. What we're talking about is we're talking about prison times for us, payday for them. This is a conflict. This is a massive conflict. And what this site does, it's called GovGreed. You can look it up. GovGreed. It basically exposes in actual data and receipts. This cannot, there's no, well, I didn't really do that. That wasn't really me. That's a person with the same name, same date of birth, same birthday, same county, same color hair, same look, but it's not really me. It basically highlights the systemic conflicts that are going on. That we have lawmakers that are regulating the very industries they are heavily invested in, the same industries they get donations from, and they face no consequences. Now, look, first thing you need to understand is this is just kind of the way business is done. It's kind of called greasing the wheels of industry. And in many ways, a lot of these laws and stuff get passed. They have no enforcement in them. You know it. We went through it all in the election stuff. But how is this not putting your personal financial gain over and above the interest of the American people? How do you know when a lawmaker, as I highlighted with this election secure paper stuff, how do you know when they're really doing something for the state or for their people, their constituents, versus their pocketbook? It's not. Some of you talk about it. I think I just saw this on the screen. Let me look. It's like with any forensic audit. It's always there. It's always in the data. It's not some 6-degree fractal pterodactyl polynomial moment. It's just fact. So I asked the question is, if you found out your lawmaker, and there's a 56% chance you are affected by this, put it in chat. Does it make you distrust your lawmaker more? Or do you think, well, our lawmakers really don't get a lot? Because I think if you're a rep in the House of Representatives, you really don't get paid anything consequential. And they still have other businesses and stuff. And so maybe this is the way they just, of course, get people to run. But do you think this compromises the lawmaker? Do you think it forces the lawmaker to care more about their pocketbook than you, the very person that they're supposed to be taking care of business for? If you had a lawmaker that said, look, I'm in this company, I have so much value and belief in this company that I personally have invested in them, which is allowable by law. But what would you rather have? It totally be non-disclosed hush hush, or the lawmaker that truly has the transparency to say, I believe in this company, I invested in this company, and I'm telling you, this is the future and we need to pay attention to it. Now, I personally don't have an issue with that, but I don't think that person should be heading up the committee of approvals. Do you? See, the same way we have so many people on welfare abusing the system that will never vote against it and will vote only to keep lawmakers in office to keep the money flowing. Don't you think that works the same way with lawmakers? I'm not going to vote against this. My stock's gone through the roof. So are they ever going to vote against their interest? See, I think where the deception is here is with transparency. I think lawmakers should be required to disclose, but on their websites, they should be presenting cases just like anything else. They should present their case and their case study of why they support this company and why they think it's good for the United States of America. That I actually have no problem with. Why? Because the lawmaker is being transparent, because it's open to you to look and see. You have all the information right up front, and you get to decide if the lawmaker's only protecting their interest or protecting yours. But if it was like any other scientific paper or new technology, why wouldn't the lawmaker be required to release, here's a white paper, here's why I think this is good for my constituents, here's why I think it's good for the state, here's why I think it's good for the United States of America, and here's where I stand on it, and issue a definitive statement on it of their support. See, I could get behind that. This is never going to go away. It's just not the way business is done. But I would have far more confidence in a lawmaker that would have total transparency. And oh, by the way, be willing to answer questions about it. So you, their constituent, can audit them as, did you have an intern write this white paper for you? Or do you really know what the fuck you're talking about? Because if they can't talk about it and defend it, and they just deflect, then you know it's bullshit. Where do you come down on this? This site's interesting. The site is incredibly interesting. The numbers on this government greed site, and I'm gonna pop to my screen here. I'm gonna show you live. So let me share my screen. You should at least check it out. But here are the numbers. Let me get it to full screen here. Here are the numbers. It says they've tracked 540 individual politicians. There have been 189,926 insider trades. They've scored it against 44,981 bills. If they look at trades correlating to the build within the family groups, that basically facilitated 256,112 trades. So what they've done is this is how technology serves you. I told you this before. AI can be a great thing. You use it right. You can't keep up everything a lawmaker does, but you should see every single post a lawmaker makes, what they talk about. You should catch them every time they flip-flop. Only AI can do that. And so this is how AI can make things better. by using it in a way. Now, you can right now, you can use this data to your own effect. You can see if you are just a minor stock trader, I'm telling you right now, you could sit here all day long and you don't look at indicators in the market. Screw that. Forget trying to read indicators in the market. Forget trying to read, this company's stock position, profit loss, all this other stuff. Forget that. Track the lawmakers. Besides, you trust your lawmaker. Why wouldn't you just do what they do? There are all kinds of people who have finally figured this out and figured out how to get the data because you can. And all they do is they mimic what the lawmakers do. Now, granted, you're probably not going to move 10,000 shares or something, but 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 shares you trading on your own, I predict you could do extremely well for yourself just watching and doing what lawmakers do. Now you know, folks, how they weaponize the system. Now you know how they use it for themselves. This is why you got to be the smartest patriot in the room. Please share this program, folks. I love you all.
On Election Day 2026, insurgent candidate Spencer Pratt looked like he might flip Los Angeles to the Republicans, edging out socialist candidate Nydia Rahman, setting up a runoff between former communist turned Democrat incumbent Karen Bass and the Republican Pratt. But then something strange happened. After 5 days of counting extra ballots, the socialist Rahman came up with just enough ballots to overtake Pratt, meaning that no matter what happened in the runoff, a Democrat would continue to run LA into the ground. How did the Democrats do it? To answer that question, we need to take a trip down memory lane. The Democratic Party was founded in 1828. Shortly thereafter, party apparatuses such as Tammany Hall institutionalized election theft by stuffing ballot boxes, repeat voting, casting ballots for dead people, bribery, intimidation, absentee ballots, ballot harvesting, and importing voters from outside areas. An audit of a New York City election in 1868, for example, found that 16% of all votes cast were fraudulent, cooked up by Democrats in Tammany Hall. In 1948, Lyndon Johnson infamously stole a Texas Senate seat thanks to the drop of 202 late votes in ballot box 13, giving LBJ an 87-vote victory. That brazen election theft made it all the way up to the Supreme Court, which ultimately didn't want to get involved and washed its hands of the matter. As a result, LBJ went on to become vice president and then president of the United States. In 1994, Democrats tried to steal a state Senate seat in Pennsylvania. On Election Day, Republican Bruce Marks led Democrat William Stinson by over 500 votes. But the absentee ballots curiously went overwhelmingly for the Democrat, giving Stinson just enough votes to win overall. In that case, happily, a federal judge found that Philadelphia election officials had illegally delivered hundreds of absentee ballot packets directly to the Democrats, who in turn collected votes from people who were ineligible to cast votes when they weren't forging the votes outright. Democrats ran precisely the same absentee ballot playbook in 2003 in the East Chicago, Indiana mayor's race, fraud we know about only because the Indiana Supreme Court decided to get involved, ordering a new election, which the Democrat fraudster happily lost. Democrats' reliance on absentee ballot harvesting became so widespread, especially in states such as Illinois, Arkansas, and Georgia, that the 1982 Illinois elections resulted in 62 indictments and 58 convictions for election fraud, involving not only campaign workers, but precinct captains and election officials. In Chicago alone, a grand jury found that 100,000 fraudulent votes had been cast. But Chicago had already been a central hub of Democrat election theft for decades, most infamously exemplified by the 1960 presidential election, in which Robert Dallek, a biographer of both John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, concluded that Democrats, quote, probably stole Illinois from Nixon. In 2020, Democrat politicians infamously changed voter laws throughout the United States to increase absentee ballots and insecure ballot drop boxes, in some cases, such as Pennsylvania, in violation of the state constitution. Despite claims of perfectly secure elections, Hundreds of Democrats over American history have been convicted over election fraud, and those convictions represent only a small percentage of cases, which represent only a small percentage of allegations of voter fraud widely acknowledged by historians and really by anyone with eyes. In Los Angeles, we see the same old story. A Republican defeated by the last-minute count of absentee ballots, cast without any solid chain of custody, often in ballot drop boxes without any election security. Those circumstances might all be perfectly legal, at least in a Democrat stronghold such as Gomorrah by the Sea. But we're still left with a simple question. If Democrats want us to believe there isn't any voter fraud, why do they keep expanding the use of all the same tricks they've used to steal elections for the past 200 years?
The upcoming 2026 midterms could be a bloodbath for Republicans? How? Consider this. On Election Day 2008, Barack Obama received 69 million votes. In his second term, he racked up 65 million votes, and he was considered the Democrat rock star president. Then Hillary ran against Donald Trump. She received the same 65 million votes. But come 2020, Joe Biden supposedly received 81 million votes? Was he really more popular than Obama or Hillary? Of course not. But that is not the half of it. In the 2024 election, Kamala Harris received 68 million votes. But did you know that now it's almost 2 years after that election, and somehow Kamala Harris has been elevated to over 75 million votes? How does a candidate get 8 million more votes after the election? Is this an attempt to validate the fraudulent 81 million vote fantasy from 2020? You bet. One thing stands between chaos and correcting history, and that is the historic 2020 full forensic archive of Maricopa County, Arizona. The single most detailed full audit of a presidential election in American history, audited over 2 million ballots, generated over 20,895,000 individual proof files. This took 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. This evidence must be kept for any and all future court cases, Supreme Court cases, and preserved for all time, eventually at the Trump Presidential Library. That is why we need you. You, the people, made this history happen, and now you, the people, can have a hand in making sure this evidence is saved for future generations. Please donate. Please help us. Donate now to continue to preserve in a chain of custody state of the only legal court-ready evidence of the 2020 election disaster. The 2.1 million physical ballots, the single largest forensic audit of a presidential election in American history. Please donate now and preserve history.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a show
Have you gotten your copy of the best-selling book, Countdown to Chaos: The Silent Federalizing of Elections? On November 3, 2020, something happened in America, something that caused millions of citizens to stop, stare, and ask one terrifying question: what just happened to our country? That night, America watched as confusion spread across the nation. Vote counting, delays, questions, accusations, anger, silence, censorship, division. And when it was over, one thing was undeniable: America was not the same. Trust in elections was damaged. Trust in the media was shattered. Trust between citizens was pushed to the breaking point. Countdown to Chaos is not a casual read. This book will make you mad. Then it may make you sad. And then it may make you furious. But anger is not the problem. Unfocused anger is. This book takes that confusion, that frustration, and gives it direction. Because before people can act, they must first understand. Inside Countdown to Chaos, you are taken on a chronological journey through the who, what, when, where, why, and how behind the modern election system. How was the system built? Who influenced it? When did it change? Where did the power shift? Why were so many Americans left with unanswered questions? This book asks the questions many people were told not to ask. Was the chaos accidental? Was it predictable? Was it manufactured? Could anyone have known where an election was headed before the public results were called? Could election data be viewed while the process was still unfolding? Could systems be vulnerable? Could outside actors, insiders, institutions, or networks influence outcomes without the average voter ever knowing? One side shouted, "The election was rigged." The other side shouted, "There is no such thing as election fraud." But slogans are not answers. Mockery is not evidence. Silence is not proof. Americans deserve more than talking points. They deserve facts. They deserve timelines. They deserve documentation. They deserve the truth. Countdown to Chaos: The Silent Federalizing of Elections is a deep research dive into the questions that still haunt millions of Americans. It is carefully researched, it is presented in chronological order, and once you see the system laid out step by step, you may never look at elections the same way again. But be warned, do not open this book if you are comfortable staying asleep. Do not open this book if you cannot handle hard questions. Do not open this book if you still want the blue pill. Because once your eyes are opened, there is no going back. Get the answers, follow the timeline, see the system. Read the bestseller, Countdown to Chaos: The Silent Federalizing of Elections. Available now. Get your copy today.